Drinking on my doorstep. Get fired. Many years ago I worked at an office in the city center just a couple of blocks from my rented apartment, so I often ate lunch at home. It was so nice being able to relax at home in the middle of the workday. Until summer came around. You see, there was a bar right next to the very narrow door from the building's stairwell out to the street. So occasionally I'd come home to find someone sitting on the doorstep, beer in hand. Especially on weekends. But I'd just politely say, "Sorry, bud, I need to get in here," and they'd invariably stand up and let me pass, usually saying, "Oh, sorry, bud, back. Not a big problem in my life, in other words. But then one day I came home for lunch, and there was a construction worker, around 50 years old, with high-vis vest and safety hat, sitting on the doorstep with a half-drunk beer in his hand. As always, I said my usual "sorry, bud" phrase, but instead of standing up, this looked up at me with contempt, looked down again, and didn't move. So I had to lean over him, unlock the door, and kind of half-squeeze past, half-step over him. When it was time to tut back to work, the Dutch nozzle was still sat on the doorstep with a fresh beer in his hand, and still refused to budge when I asked to pass. Same thing next day. Except this time, he mumbled prick when I asked to get past. I was now fuming. Day after day, it was the same thing. This piece of shit ruined my otherwise perfect lunch routine to the point that I didn't want to go home for lunch anymore. Sometimes the shitbag was sat there when I came home at the end of my workday. But then, I got an idea. I took a longer lunch than usual, ate a sandwich on a bench diagonally across from my apartment, and watched him arrive at the bar, drink 3 beers on my doorstep, and when he got up to leave, I followed him to his workplace just down the street. And this is where I got really lucky. He was working on a building that I knew pretty well. 'Cause I'm a structural engineer, and my colleagues were the engineers for that building project. Of course I didn't know this douchebag's name, but that didn't matter 'cause the idiot had a goatee beard and a mullet ponytail haircut, which was pretty distinctive to say the least. So I went to my colleague's floor and asked them what they thought about the site manager for that project. They replied, "Yeah, he's a good guy, professional, meetings are always friendly." My eyes lit up. "Well, next time you're on site, can you tell him that it's come to your attention that one of his guys is drinking at least 2 beers every lunchtime at name of bar and returning to work drunk? Around 50 years old, brown hair, goatee, and mullet." What in... So... My colleague told me 3 days later that the site manager was fuming when he heard what they had to say. He knew immediately who the guy was, and had zero tolerance for guys being under the influence on site, as they're a danger to others. So he had followed him at lunchtime, saw him sitting at his usual spot on my doorstep with a beer, and as soon as the guy arrived back on site after lunch, he was fired on the spot. He made sure to do it in front of his other guys so A. They would know not to be so stupid, and B. Word would get out that this guy was an irresponsible drunk. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more videos like this.